The Indiana Hoosiers have used a ton of transfer portal products to get out to a 5-0 start this season, including Fernando Mendoza, who might just be the best transfer quarterback in the country.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome, and it is a Locked On crossover between Hoosiers and the Portal Podcast. I'm Jacob Goins, host of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Brian Smith, host of the Portal Podcast, also our Locked On recruiting expert, and of course, he's an Indiana grad as well. We appreciate him and you for being with us on this episode. It's brought to you today by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Well, Brian, it wasn't pretty, but Indiana takes down Iowa over the weekend, 20-15. We're going to cover the Big Ten as a whole because the Big Ten race is wide open on the teams who could win the conference, plus the ones that can make the college football playoff. Also, how Indiana can just build on recruiting momentum with some of the biggest players in the country. But the Hoosiers get it done against Iowa, and they used a bunch of their portal players to do so.
Yeah, it's amazing how you didn't just hit last year with some of the kids coming over from where you were before. Cignetti brought 13 of those kids. I was like, let's see if he can do it again. And he did. Name a program that evaluates the portal any better than the Hoosiers. 2 years in a row is hard because it's easier to recruit high school kids, but he wanted to win right away. Props to his staff, and secondarily, they're not just good. It's weird how, let's just use Mendoza as an example. It looks like he's been playing with Surratt and Coop for 5 years.
Yeah.
They're in sync. Like that first drive, they get the turnover, boom, 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 in the end zone. I'm like, they have got the death knell for any team that screws up. They want to hammer them. And while Iowa played very valiantly and Indiana didn't play up to their standard, at the end, what happened? They had that opportunity and that cohesion. The coaching took over there too. Right play calls. And by the way, terrible call on the cover zero blitz by Iowa there at the end. But
yeah,
as an Indiana grad, I said it when I watched them. I'm like, this is not a good idea. And he scored. You guys run cover two. It's what you do. You're Iowa. And they
right.
Cover zero blitz bad. But put it on the money. Mendoza could not have thrown that pass to Surratt any better. And again, like we just talked about it before the show, Jacob, he's sixth in the Heisman odds. Fernando Mendoza, in my opinion, should be top three, but that's just me. But it is what it is. I think if they go 10-2 or better, he will be in New York City. Who wins it at this point is really random. Obviously, Mateer got hurt with his hand. That, unfortunately for him, there are a lot of guys in this. I don't know who's going to win it, but Mendoza has got to be one of those guys.
Well, going into the Iowa game, Fernando Mendoza was the betting odds favorite with FanDuel to win the Heisman Trophy. That has since shifted around a little bit. Yes, because of Fernando Mendoza's lackluster performance, right? Even though, as you mentioned, he delivered a game-winning touchdown pass. He did have his first interception on the year, but he bounced back and delivered a game-winning touchdown pass. But I think more so it's because of some of the guys around him in other programs that elevated their performance this past weekend. Dante Moore being a big example, being the young freshman. He's now the betting odds favorite over at FanDuel. But I'm with you. I just think Fernando Mendoza looks so comfortable in this offense. And that's why I was excited when he came in from Cal to replace Curtis Rourke from last year, because they're very similar. They're both talented. They make the right decision, and they deliver a football on time and on target. And it's hard for me to find bigger and more impactful transfer portal additions than Fernando Mendoza. How about Roman Hemby, right? The Maryland running back transfer who looks really, really good in my opinion. I think he needs the football a lot more times than they're giving it to him. But Indiana just finds dudes in the portal that fit their system. They weren't the most highlighted guys in the portal, Brian. They weren't the 5-star transfer portal players begging for millions of dollars. Curt Cignetti and his guys said, look, let's go get dudes that fit our system, that fit our program, and fit our values, and we'll make it work from there.
That's exactly what they did. And culture wins, man. Look at the teams that made the playoffs last year. Except for the wild card, like Boise State sort of decides that's the G6. But Arizona State was like the one just full of transfer team that took kids from everywhere, and hats off to them last year. But they had Scatterboo. That guy's he's killing the NFL too. So
yeah.
He's an animal. Steele, what did he go with? 4th round? Terrible job by the NFL draft people.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is you got to have fit. And Mendoza is a better, and I'm not picking on Rourke, but between him and Rourke, like, it ain't close. It's Mendoza. He's got a better arm. He's got a little more mobility than what I remember too. He's done a good enough job of going to get you 4 to 6 yards that it still helps move the sticks.
Sometimes too much. Sometimes too much. He took a pretty nasty shot on Saturday.
I think when you first see how fast they are running in warm-ups, it's one thing, but seeing them come at you is something that now Mendoza knows for the wrong reasons. That wasn't a shot. That was a helicopter that ran into him, okay? Like, he just got obliterated. It's like a crash landing. He's lucky he got up from that one.
Yeah.
But he has made plays, and even after that, he was fine. He has made plays when they had to have it. That's the kind of guy that ends up in the Heisman race. But to the overall theme here, they're one of a very select few teams that can make a run in the playoffs that aren't just very strong high school. Like Ohio State cherry picks the portal. Michigan cherry picks the portal. Texas does too. You know, those programs, it's just easier to recruit. Indiana's got a very small room for error situation with the portal, and they're hitting it. I mean, I cover Florida State too. I've seen what it looks like when you miss on the portal. Up close and personal. It's called 2 and 10. I don't advise it for anybody covering a football team.
Indiana knows nothing about 2 and 10. Brian, the Hoosiers have never had bad losing football seasons. I don't know what you're talking about.
Never mind. I'm not going to bring that conversation up because I grew up in the state of Indiana. But the Hoosiers, they just got the chemistry that you can't explain with the portal, and it's really cool to watch. I'm not saying that because I'm an Indiana grad. I'm saying that because very few teams do it. And some of them, like, it's just like it's a train that's headed the wrong way. And to be honest with you, you can usually tell pretty quick. And Indiana's just got it, man. Like, I think this team's going to finish in the top 4 of the Big Ten. And before this season, I said 7-5, 8-4, somewhere in there, because now they're the hunted and all that. They don't care. They're out to stomp people. Ask Illinois, who, by the way, just turned around and beat USC. That makes Indiana look a lot better.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So, like, Indiana's in a pretty good spot right now.
It's production on both sides of the football. Receivers, tight ends, DBs, linebackers. The Hoosiers went and got so many pieces that they needed, and they're gelling really, really well. And Indiana's off to a 5-0 start, second time in a row last year and this year. First time in program history they've started 5-0 in back-to-back seasons. But now the Hoosiers have to build on that. They've got to build on the field. They've got to build in the portal, and they've got to build in high school recruiting as well. We talk about that with Curt Cignetti and his squad. How can they do it? We cover that coming up next here on this Locked On Crossover. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers and the Portal is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable that they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get the boost when you need it. I talk all the time about how I carry these 5-Hour Energy shots to work with me. I have them in my backpack. I even keep some in my room just in case I'm up working late at night here to produce some content for you guys. I always have one ready and available. They're super quick, super easy, and they taste delicious, and they get me through whatever it is that I need to do. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorite you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com, or you can find them on Amazon today. Welcome back into this Locked On Crossover, Hoosiers and the Portal. He is Brian Smith, host of the Portal Podcast. I'm Jacob Goins, host of Locked On Hoosiers. And we continue talking the Indiana Hoosiers, Brian, but the program as a whole, because winning games like you did against Illinois last week, you and I talked, was so big for the recruiting landscape, and some of the biggest names in the country were there to watch it. But how much does a win like this against Iowa on the road, national TV, where people started to tune in because, oh no, maybe the Hoosiers are going down, but you pull off a big win like this too? What does that do just to continue to build the rapport of this Indiana football program?
I think it helps you because the media now has to cover them seriously again. This isn't just covering Indiana from okay, they were pretty good, but they played a crappy non-con, etc. They just beat two teams that were supposed to be good this year.
Yeah.
And they beat one of them by 53. And they had a comeback win when as the old saying goes, you've got to win your clunkers. And Indiana was not on its A game, especially up front on the offensive line. Iowa did a nice job, by the way. They're very well coached. They just don't have the talent they need out wide to dominate. But like Indiana ran up against it. Their coaching staff for once didn't just dominate. And again, it's Iowa staff. That's a really good staff overall, minus the cover zero blitz there at the end. By the way, that is just one of the worst calls I've seen in a long time. I have no idea what Parker was doing, but it's still the same deal. You have to be able to win your clunkers. That highlight, the way they won. It wasn't a walk-off, but it's about as close as you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Come from behind. On the road, hardly anybody wins at Iowa, all those things. They can sell that to the media. That helps you in recruiting just by osmosis. And then you can get on the phone, you can text guys, you can email parents, whatever, and tell them, hey, come be a part of this. I told you before the show, and I'm steadfast with this, the key are the recruits that we're not talking about. And what I mean is literally, Indiana is trying to get into that next tier of elite kids. This is how you get there.
Is that possible? I mean, is Indiana in a spot to actually make that happen? Because we've talked before, and it's still true that you have an athletic director and a president that are buying into Indiana football, right, with this new era of just pure NIL, plus the revenue sharing idea. And we've got a somewhat of an idea of what Indiana's doing revenue share wise, but they're putting money into football. So is it an accurate assumption that the Hoosiers can get on that next level of recruiting? And then maybe what do you think that is, Brian?
Well, there's two more levels. There's we can get some 4 stars, and then it's your coaches are running into Kirby Smart all the time on the recruiting trail. Those are that's when your coach is going around in a helicopter all the time. It's a different level. There's only so many coaches that are doing that. But Kirby doesn't fly with us. Okay, it's all different.
Yeah.
To get into that level, you got to win the games sometimes at Penn State and Oregon. To get it, they got to win one of those games, just straight up. Right now, I'm not betting on the Oregon game because that's my pick to win the national title. If it's not Ohio State, it's Oregon. Flip a coin. It's probably one of the two that's going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
But Happy Valley is possible. I cannot stress to you how important that game is to Indiana football. If they somehow win that game, you know how much it changes recruiting, because not only is it a power and all that, the Big Ten team, it's in an area that's accessible because it's 2 states away and they already have a base in Virginia, Maryland, and they're used to. That would be Matt. You need to win a game on the field that everybody goes, wait a minute. They got killed by Ohio State and Notre Dame last year. They just beat Penn State in Happy Valley.
Mm-hmm.
They need something like that to take that next step. Now, even with where they are, I think they can get some 4-star kids. Don't be surprised if they flip somebody, etc. But how Curt wants to do it with the culture, I don't know. Because a lot of the kids they might want or have a chance at, does it fit? You got to be very careful. Ironically, I saw a clip from James Franklin. He was being interviewed by somebody. He brought up a great point. He said, you cannot be intoxicated by the talent. Great line. What's the kid like? What's his tardies like? Does he go to school? Is he respectful? This and that.
I got you. Yeah.
You can't
be blind.
Idiots.
Yeah.
You can't take idiots. That's how you go into the toilet real quick.
Right.
Because those kids won't last. You think playing for Cignetti is easy? Probably not. Those guys aren't going to last under him because he wants discipline. So there's a balance. But over the next 2 years, you got to get to the point where taking a 4-star kid is mundane. That's the objective.
I want to ask you about a kid who was on campus 2 weeks ago, or I guess a week or so ago, when Indiana hosted Illinois. Indiana blasted Illinois. It's the 5-star defensive lineman from Texas, Jalen Brewster. He was on campus. Indiana's in the mix, and he makes his verbal commitment this coming week on October the 4th. That is on Thursday of this week. I know that it's a long shot for Indiana to pull this off because it would be an upset. If FanDuel had an odds, it would be a major upset here. It would be an underdog, if you will. But the fact that Indiana is A, in this, Brian, and B, somewhat has a shot, I think is pretty remarkable. Can they pull this off?
I doubt they will, but I didn't think they were going to get a visit. This was so wild. I don't have a precedent to put it against.
Sure.
So 2 points here. I have no idea where he's going, first off, but The 2 points are you got him on campus, and you've got a connection into Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
He plays at one of the big hubs down in, I think it's Cedar Hill Kill, which is a major program. That's a great sign. And number 2, he wouldn't have put you on the list for his finalists if he thought the visit sucked. So they did something right besides win by 53. Kids look at visits like this. How would I fit in? How do they treat me? How do they treat my mom, or blah, blah, blah? Whoever came with him, his coaches, his 700, his trainer, whatever. They did something right to be in the mix, and they did something right to stay on the list. I'm actually more interested in that, as goofy as it sounds, than them getting him, because there's always a chance there was just some kind of inside deal there. But he's a Texas kid. Like, that's not Cignetti's ground. That's not his turf. Again, I don't know where he's going. But the fact they're even in on a 5-star D lineman at this juncture is insane. When I first saw that, I had to read it twice because I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Because this is a Texas, LSU, Oklahoma kind of battle thing. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That just shows you where Indiana's come in about 12 months. One of the fastest rises I've ever seen.
Well, I think it shows for people who maybe doubt Indiana as a program, or doubt Curt Cignetti as a recruiter, or just doubt Indiana's NIL revenue sharing idea. Because look, for a 5-star defensive lineman, it's a bidding war in today's world, right, Brian?
Yes,
I mean, it's who can pay the most at the end of the day, who can give you the most, pay the most, and play the most. It's all about how much can you pay me and how much can you play me. That's what I always talk about. And I think this should give people an idea that Indiana can at least come to the table with an offer that won't get laughed at, right? I mean, these used to be deals that were made on or off the books that Indiana just they wouldn't even put the paper on the table because they knew they couldn't hang. This should show people that Indiana can. And if you keep winning games and the university keeps putting money into it and donors keep putting money into this too, Indiana's a sleeping giant in recruiting, Brian. I think you believe that, don't you?
I don't see how they couldn't be based on who they've had on campus recently. You had a 5-star D lineman on campus. You had Montrell Sales on campus. They're starting to get kids on campus at Penn State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Southern Cal went on campus. That's about as straightforward as it gets. And they're doing it out of state. They're doing it in state. They're doing it at critical, like D linemen from Dallas. Everybody recruits Dallas. It's a top 5 city in the country for high school football. This is a wild deal, man. I would, if I was Cignetti, I'd do everything I can over the next couple of weeks before they play Oregon, do everything I can to get kids aware of what's going on and the long-term vision. Why not Indiana? They got, like you said, I don't think a lot of people know that Indiana's got legit NIL money. I don't think they know that.
Can I ask you something about kids coming on visits? And nowadays, a guy like a Jalen Brewster, who's 5-star, could go anywhere, make whatever money. Is it true that big recruits like that have to know that the school they want to go visit can afford them? Like Indiana, for example. Would Brewster even come and visit IU if he knew that they couldn't stroke the check to compete with the other programs? Because that would be a waste of time, right?
Most of the kids kind of have an idea, but it's the adults in the room that make those decisions.
And
the
agents nowadays.
Yeah, it depends on the family situation.
Sure.
But there's usually somebody with a kid like that is handling, because he's such a big name. Mm-hmm. They know. So he doesn't have to worry about it. So the question's really, do the people involved with him know what the deal is? And they would, or they wouldn't fly all the way from there. Why would you waste your time? Yeah. They could have went to Ole Miss, LSU. They could have went to a lot of other games that weekend. You know what I mean? Like there's different things going on every weekend.
Which shows you that Indiana can hang. That's my point in this whole conversation. And now you got to build on it. And now you can do so with a win against Oregon, a win against Penn State, win the games you're supposed to, getting back to the college football playoff. All of those are things for Indiana to continue to build its stature on the recruiting trail, in the transfer portal, and in college football. But when we come back, we talk more about the Big Ten as a whole, because this race is wide open on who's going to win the conference. Heck, who even's going to play in the championship game and also make it to the college football playoff. We talk about that coming up next here on this crossover of Locked On Hoosiers and Locked On the Portal. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers and Locked On the Portal is brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly known as Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or on your computer. So no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. Their built-in AI agent is a game changer. It can answer after hours calls, capture leads, and keep businesses moving even when you're off the clock. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly known as Open Phone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/LockedOnCollege. And if you've got an existing number with another service, don't worry. Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls and no missed customers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers and Locked On the Portal is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So maybe you want to jump on Monday Night Football this week. Maybe you want to wait for Thursday Night Football, or just get involved all day long on a Sunday afternoon. FanDuel is the place to go if you have a player that you like, a team that you like, maybe a couple that you like. You can put them all together and try to win some cash with FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, final segment here on this Locked On crossover, Hoosiers and the Portal. We appreciate you being here. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube to subscribe to both of our channels on the Portal and Locked On Hoosiers as well. It helps us grow. You'll get notified when new episodes come out, and make sure those notifications are turned on as well if you're listening on your audio platforms. But man, this is a big week for the Big Ten, Brian, because a couple of teams are on bye weeks. Indiana is one of those, but last weekend was wild across the conference because this thing's wide open. Is it Ohio State? Is it Oregon? Is it Indiana? Is it Penn State? Is it someone else who maybe is trying to come up the rear? I mean, the Big Ten has a lot to be answered over the next, 4 or 5 weeks left of this season?
I would imagine that Indiana is one of the flies in the ointment because they play Penn State and Oregon. They don't play Ohio State this year. They don't play Michigan.
Right.
Already got Iowa out of the way. They got Illinois out of the way. Jacob, besides the obvious, the Oregon game and the Penn State game, who would you say is their next most difficult Big Ten opponent before? It's not Purdue. I know that.
No, it's not. Which, look, Purdue's look better. Purdue has looked
they
better,
are much better.
I'll give Barry Odom credit. I've already seen his name on different coaching boards for other places. So maybe Purdue found them a good coach. But beginning of the season, I thought it would be Wisconsin, right? Just because of the name and the brand and the logo and everything. But that's clearly not the case. Taking out the Oregon and Penn State game, am I crazy to say the road game at Maryland? Am I crazy to say that game doesn't look as easy as it used to because of what Malik Washington has done to this point? 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception. They're coming off a bye week. Is Maryland. Now, they'll play Washington, Nebraska, and UCLA before they play Indiana, so they may be humbled a little bit, but that would be my answer, is Maryland on the road is probably the remaining toughest game outside of Oregon, Penn State.
Malik Washington, for people that don't know, was a 5-star borderline recruit. He's a kid from the DC area. He can spin it.
Yes, he can.
I saw him at the Under Armour event. He's really legit. Mm-hmm. But it's still Maryland. They usually don't have a ton of depth. I like Indiana there. If they can just somehow split the Penn State-Oregon situation, you're 11-1 in my opinion.
Yeah. Can you get in? Can you get in by – what happens if you lose both of those, right? Because you're going to be underdogs. Indiana will not be favored against Oregon or Penn State. So with what you've done up to this point, and if they take care of the UCLAs and the Michigan States and the Purdue's on their schedule, can Indiana still lose both of those games and make it to the college football playoff, in your opinion?
They would obviously be in the range. The pulse on them is a little different this year because what they did to Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
B, it's going to depend on how they look. They can't go to Oregon and lose 24-3.
That's fair. Yeah.
You have to be in the game in the fourth quarter in both games, and you really need to win one of the two. But if they don't, then you're putting yourself up for the question, okay, who'd they beat? You know what I mean? And they didn't do well when they played Notre Dame last year. Ironically, they might be competing for that last spot with Notre Dame again, who's going to have probably less of a resume that could finish 10-2. Their schedule's falling apart.
And yet they're still going to get in, Brian. They're still going to get in because of their logo.
I don't. Their schedule is really bad. They're pretty good.
It's bad.
But that's another conversation. The point is, there's a bunch of teams going to finish 9-3, 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a really good 9-3 SEC team with the right logo, let's say it's Alabama or let's say it's Georgia, that's a problem. They're not going to let Alabama slide 9-3 2 years in a row. And I don't think Alabama's going to lose more than one more game anyway. But it needs to be somebody without the logo that's that 9-3 team. If it comes down to another 10-2 team, that's problematic as well if it's an SEC team. SEC is going to get a game favorite against almost anybody because it's just a deeper league. Top heavy for Big Ten is no doubt. The middle is way better in the SEC. So that's a subjective race. It really comes down to if you lose 31-30 at Penn State and 27-24 in Eugene, yeah, I think you get in. But if either one of those are just butt kickings, then it gets very dicey. You're down to, well, how did Texas look down the stretch? You can say what you want, but those advertisers want Bevo in the playoff.
Yeah. Yeah. What they don't want Cignetti in the playoff again. They don't want to put him on TV. He doesn't bring as much money as Steve Sarkisian in Texas, Brian.
No, he does not.
And I hate that that's the narrative, though, right? I hate that that's the conversation we have to have with the college football playoff, but it's no secret, right? It's the thing that drives everything. It's money. That's what drives the sports world is revenue. And Texas and Ohio State, those teams bring television, radio, journalism revenue, advertising revenue to the sport, to the college football playoff, to ESPN, to all the people involved here. And so what I'm hearing from you, and I think you're right, is Indiana doesn't want to leave this up to the committee. We talk about this in basketball all the time, right? My narrative in college basketball is don't go into conference championship week needing to win and leave it up to the committee to put you into the NCAA tournament. Sounds like that's what you're saying for Indiana football too. Don't leave it up to that college football playoff committee.
In basketball, you want to get to about 22 wins. Pretty good chance you're going to be in at that point. But if you're at that 20 mark, that's flipping a coin, brother. Mm-hmm. It's flipping a coin. And in football, this year, if they win 10 games, it's goofy, but that means you probably lost to Oregon and Penn State. They're going to say, who'd you beat? You need to be an Illinois and Iowa fan the rest of this year.
That's what I've told them too. That's what I've told Indiana fans. I said that Saturday night. Cheer for Illinois, cheer for Iowa, and any team that you beat, cheer for them. You want them to be good because it makes your resume look better.
They have to, because last year they got crapped on for they lost to Ohio State convincingly. Their schedule was weak. It's just how it fell, and they took advantage of it. The only game they won that was close to another was beating Michigan, but that wasn't a great Michigan team.
Right.
And everybody was yelling at them, but hey, they just played the teams that were in front of them. They smoked most of them. But now I think that's one of the reasons they hammered Illinois too. Cignetti's never going to say that, but I think that's part of it. They know they've got to put the pedal to the metal against anybody they get a chance to. Leave no doubt. And I have no problem with that. It's the other team's job to stop you.
Yeah.
And it's not like Illinois doesn't have good coaches and players. They just beat the crap out of them. So I think they'll get in at 10-2 probably, but it's not a lock.
Is there a team not named Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana outside that current top four that you have your eyes on, at least up to this point from last weekend and going into this weekend? Reminder of the games coming up this Saturday: Wisconsin at Michigan, Illinois at Purdue, Penn State at UCLA, Washington at Maryland. That's an interesting one after Washington came up short against Ohio State. Northwestern plays a non-conference game. Michigan State's at Nebraska, 2-3-1 teams, and Minnesota is in Ohio State. But a team outside the top four you have your eyes on right now.
I thought it was going to be USC, and then they got punched in the mouth by Illinois. Lincoln Riley's teams just aren't physical enough. They've improved the roster, and they're still just like they're insanely talented at the skill spots. For the love of mankind, Mekhi Lemon is amazing.
Is he the best receiver in college football?
Jeremiah Smith would be one, but best route runner.
Yeah.
He is nasty route runner. He just kills people. But nonetheless, that is a program that doesn't get it done. It's probably those four. And that is the other advantage. The Big Ten wants four, and the TV networks want four. Indiana still has a big fan base. If you took Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana, would the networks be bad? No. Yeah. I really don't think so, because they're still kind of a Cinderella, but it's also a big brand in terms of the conference. I think that would be good. And Mendoza being in the Heisman race helps. Indiana's.
Yep.
Absolutely. It gives them more momentum as well, too. So there's a lot of reasons to like Indiana's spot. But again, to be sure, you got to win one of Oregon or Penn State.
I'm with you on that. Indiana has work to do, but it won't be this week. They're on a bye. They'll get to fix some of their issues, hopefully get healthy too, and then get prepared for the back half of the schedule and take a tough road trip to Autzen Stadium to take on the Oregon Ducks. We appreciate you all being with us on this Locked On crossover. He is Brian Smith, host of the Portal Podcast. Again, if you're watching or listening to this on Locked On Hoosiers, go check him out. Just search the Portal wherever you get your podcast, or on YouTube. You'll find him every single day there. And for those of you on the Portal, come check us out on Locked On Hoosiers. We'll be talking more Fernando Mendoza or Indiana Hoosiers. Basketball season's right around the corner too, Brian, so I know you'll be joining me. We'll be talking some hoops coming up in about 5 weeks, so we're really looking forward to that as well. We are back tomorrow for another episode on both channels, so until then, we appreciate you being here. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.